The Vraxian armada emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metallic locusts, their ships blotting out the stars above Earth's lunar colonies. Commander Zekthor stood on the bridge of the flagship Dominion Sfong, his three eyes gleaming with anticipation. For centuries, the Vraxians had swept across the galaxy, subjugating primitive species with calculated precision. Earth would be no different, or so he believed. Initiate planetary bombardment, Zekthor commanded, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. The first volley struck New Shanghai Colony, vaporizing 500,000 souls in a blinding flash. Sydney's atmospheric processors exploded next, turning the sky crimson. Within hours, 17 cities lay in ruins, and humanity's screams echoed across every communication channel. But the Vraxians had made a fatal miscalculation. They had studied human biology, technology, and military capabilities. What they hadn't studied was human nature. Deep beneath the Colorado mountains, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the destruction unfold on holographic displays, her jaw clenched so tight it ached. Around her, the United Earth Command bunker buzzed with organized chaos. Generals shouted orders. Technicians frantically rerouted satellite feeds. Somewhere, a junior officer was crying. Sarah felt the weight of 4 billion lives pressing down on her shoulders, the survivors looking to her for salvation, the dead demanding vengeance. "Ma'am, the Vraxian fleet is moving into standard occupation formation," reported Lieutenant Morrison, his voice barely steady. They're broadcasting surrender terms." "Terms?" Sarah's laugh was bitter. "They murder 17 million people and then offer terms?" She turned to face the assembled commanders, men and women who'd spent their careers preparing for terrestrial conflicts, never imagining they'd face extermination from the stars. Their eyes held fear, yes, but also something else. Something primal and dangerous. "Activate Protocol Prometheus," Sarah said quietly. The room fell silent. Protocol Prometheus, the contingency plan that every admiral hoped would never be necessary. The plan that violated a dozen international treaties and the very principles humanity claimed to hold dear. General Park spoke first. "Admiral, Prometheus will change us. We won't be the same species anymore." "They already changed us when they opened fire," Sarah replied, her voice hard as diamond. "The question is whether we change enough to survive, or die clinging to outdated morality." "Activate it." Now across Earth, in fortified laboratories that existed only in classified documents, scientists initiated the most ambitious project in human history. The Prometheus Protocol combined genetic engineering, cybernetic enhancement, and exotic matter manipulation technologies that had been developed in secret over decades, deemed too dangerous for deployment. Until now. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Soldiers, civilians, even children too young to fully understand what they were signing up for. They only knew that Earth was bleeding, and someone needed to stop it. Dr. James Wu oversaw the first transformations personally. He watched as ordinary humans, teachers, engineers, parents stepped into the Prometheus chambers as fragile biological beings and emerged as something entirely new. Their flesh merged with adaptive nanoarmor. Their minds expanded with quantum processors. Their bodies became weapons capable of surviving the vacuum of space, withstanding temperatures that would liquefy steel, and moving at speeds that defied human reflexes. They weren't human anymore. Not entirely. They were something evolution would have taken millennia to produce Earth's answer to a hostile galaxy. The Vraxians called them demons. Commander Zekthor first learned something was wrong when one of his scout ships vanished without a distress signal. Then another. Then 12 more in rapid succession. "Impossible," he muttered, studying the tactical display. "Humans lack faster-than-light capability. Their weapons are primitive chemical propulsion and crude lasers." His tactical officer's voice trembled. "Commander, we're receiving footage from the destroyed scout ship's final moments." The hologram materialized, and Zekthor felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: fear. The creatures tearing through Vraxian hulls didn't move like humans. They phased through solid matter, their bodies shifting between quantum states. They fired weapons that unraveled molecular bonds, reducing warships to their constituent atoms. One being designation unknown ripped through an entire cruiser single-handedly, its form blurring with impossible speed. "What are those things?" Zekthor whispered. His science officer checked the genetic markers. They're human, Commander. Modified, enhanced, but definitely human origin." Zekthor made his decision instantly. "Full retreat. Abandon occupation formations. We return to Vraxian space immediately." But retreat required time the Vraxians no longer had. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of humanity's first combat-capable starship, the UES Retribution, as her Prometheus soldiers systematically dismantled the Vraxian armada. The ship had been assembled in record time from every available resource, powered by experimental antimatter reactors that previous generations had considered too unstable. Desperation bred innovation. Terror bred miracles. "Ma'am, Vraxian flagship is attempting to flee," Morrison reported. Sarah's enhanced eyes, her own voluntary transformation, tracked the massive vessel as it charged its hyperspace engines. She could have let them go. Could have accepted victory and allowed the survivors to carry warnings back to their empire. Instead, she remembered 17 cities turned to ash. Remembered the children's screams that still haunted her neural implants. "All units, pursue and destroy," she commanded. "No survivors. I want the galaxy to understand what happens when you strike Earth." The Prometheus soldiers needed no further encouragement. They were humanity's rage-given form, grief transformed into violence, love for the fallen crystallized into merciless efficiency. The Dominion's Fong exploded in a cascade of exotic particles, its wreckage scattering across empty space like judgment itself. In the aftermath, humanity stood fundamentally changed. The Prometheus protocol couldn't be undone. Those who'd been transformed would never return to baseline humanity. They'd become Earth's eternal guardians, too powerful to fully integrate back into civilian society, too necessary to abandon. Sarah Chen looked out at the debris field that had been the Vraxian armada and felt no satisfaction, only grim certainty. They'd won this battle, but the galaxy was vast, and humanity had just announced its presence in the most violent way possible. Other species would come. Some would come in peace, seeking alliance with the species that had evolved warriors capable of such devastation. Others would come seeking to eliminate the threat before it spread. Either way, humanity would never again be the victim. The Vraxians had taught them that lesson with blood and fire. And humanity had learned it well. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would tremble at their approach.